the Star newspaper, the Standard, as well as the Daily Nation. And just a brief overlook of the headlines today. We are seeing the Daily Nation as well as the Standard have similar headlines relating to the echoes of war. Now, the Daily Nation reads echoes of war, while the Standard says echoes of oppression. The Star newspaper's headline is Ruto 8-day China tour as ties to the US crumble. Now back to the echoes of oppression story. Now this is one of the stories that has been making headlines since yesterday. We know that the Butere girls had a play that was first, it was about to be disqualified, but the court intervened and they were allowed to present their play at the National Drama Festivals. Despite this, they still did not make it to perform. Now, art in its boldest form holds a mirror to society, but sometimes the naked, raw reflection that jumps back terrifies those in power. Echoes of War by Butere Girls was not staged at the National Drama Festival in Nakuru. It was muzzled and muted by government, and instead participants were tear-gassed in what brought back memories of assaulting children in apartheid South Africa in 1976. It begs the question, what is it that government is so afraid of that it has to fight harmless children? That is what the bold Standard newspaper is asking on their front page. For the Daily Nation, they say that a play lampooning an imaginary rogue regime was bound to upset the government of the day. Came as no surprise, but a brazen state bid to muzzle the skit by Butere Girls from attempts to ban it to the arrest of its author, former Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala, brought the National Drama Festivals to a halt and ended up casting the Kenya Kwanza administration in bad light. With students dejected, journalists injured, and members of the public angry, did it really have to get to this? Now, maybe for us, we might think it was just, for the rest of Kenyans, we think it was just a play. We do not understand why the government would want to squash a play. And we've also seen residents of Kakamega have complained about this. The saying it was wrong to humiliate the students from Butere Girls, and this is not the first time a play from Butere Girls has actually made headlines. Some years back, we had a big play from Butere Girls still. It was called Shackles of Doom, I remember. And I think Butere Girls should continue with their big performance. Despite the challenges, we hope the students can overcome this challenge, yes. Also on the dailies, we are seeing another story by the Daily Nation on high crime rate, actually. So murder tapes, 21 hours of carnage in draw over water. From the evening of Tuesday, April 30th, 2019, 4 people, including a chief, a senior police officer, a businessman, and a police informer, were killed in Kimaindi village, Tharaka Nithi. Crime is actually on the rise, and we're calling for more. That needs more security on that. And why police promotions, pay rise, and housing are in limbo. So the High Court has nullified President William Ruto's decision to establish a task force that recommended changes to improve the welfare of prison officers. We're hoping maybe they can get better pay, better promotions. And that's a developing story. We'll be keeping you updated on that as well. Now, here a story on education. We're seeing from the Star newspaper, alarming shortage of teachers cripples education in counties. Recently, we heard from the Teachers Service Commission CEO, Nancy Macharia, when she appeared before MPs, and she noted that there is a deficit of more than 90,000 teachers across the country. And this comes at a time when when for the first time students are to report for senior school come January 2026. And we're also seeing that there will be new subjects that have been introduced. And the CEO, Nancy Macharia, also noted that there are no trainers for the new subjects that have been introduced under the competency-based curriculum. We are hoping the government can set up a budget to maybe increase the number of teachers, because we also know that some teachers actually graduated for many years ago, and there are many that are yet to be recruited to get employment under the Teachers Service Commission. So education still remains a key sector in the economy, and it actually ought to be addressed fast. Yeah. Now, still in the newspapers, we're seeing here, so still on the Malala case, Malala and school broke rules, says CS. So we saw the government, that is Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba last evening defended the government's move regarding a play Echoes of War by Butere Girls High School, written by Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala. Now, Mr. Ogamba said the play had been flagged by the sub-county level, and adjudicators had requested key alterations be made before it could advance to the next stage. However, he said further alterations were made at the regional level even after offensive messages which adjudicators advised be expunged at the sub-county level were reintroduced at the county levels. So yeah, that Malala's story has actually been it's been a tense one, making headlines. We've seen even journalists, students, there were cases of tear gas in that during the festivals yesterday in Nakuru. And even journalists covering Malala arrest injured. 6 journalists were injured as they covered the arrest of former Cleophas Malala in Rongai, Nakuru County on Wednesday. Now, Mr. Malala wrote the Gen Z-themed Butere Girls High School play Echoes of War that has not gone down well with many in government. Police lobbed tear gas at the journalists, injured Nation media groups Purity Kinuthia and citizen reporter Mary Ann Nyambura. So I think also during our line of work as tribes, this happens, but it ought not to happen. Media people should not be attacked in their line of work. And it is if Malala is being arrested, I think for us, we're just there to do the interviews and cover the story. So I think it's just part of the casualties of when things go wrong in the country. So we're hoping to see how that story progresses. We saw yesterday the students from Butere Girls High School, they were escorted back to their schools. They actually never performed their play Echoes of War. It was not performed at the drama festivals. They instead sang the national anthem and left in silence. Yeah, that was not what Kenyans were expecting, because everyone was hoping to watch that play that has been highly publicized. Now, on other matters, we go to the IEBC selection process, where we're supposed to get new commissioners and a new chairperson to replace former IEBC chairperson Wafula, the late Wafula Chebukati. And we've seen 6 new names have been added to the short list of names who are to be interviewed for the positions. And one of the persons was, now we're seeing a new story here where the president's lawyer has he's actually withdrawn from the race to be a commissioner and a chairperson of the IEBC. So why a quit race for IEBC chairperson? So the lawyer sent the withdrawal letter to the interviewing committee on April 4th. So the president's lawyer says he did not want to be drawn into unnecessary controversies by virtue of his associations. So the lawyer Joseph Katwa Kigen has given reasons for skipping interviews for the 6 members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, despite being shortlisted. The lawyer failed to appear before Dr. Nelson Makanda-led selection committee yesterday. The lawyer told the Daily Nation that the decision was because of pressure in the process. He became the first candidate to withdraw from the interviews that have attracted 105 individuals. So we're hoping to see how that story progresses. And yeah, as we know, we are running late on that. Constitutionally, we ought to be having an electoral body with commissioners set and the chairperson already known. So that is a progressing story. We'll keep you updated on that. And as we wait to see who will be our new IEBC chairperson to replace the late Chebukati. And also in other stories, we're seeing here a story by judges actually in the judiciary. So Kome and top judges win first round against the Judicial Service Commission. So the judge says Constitution does not shield the actions of the Commission from being taken to task in a court. Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu and Supreme Court Judge Mohammed Ibrahim have won the first round against the Judicial Service Commission in relation to their proposed removal from office over alleged misconduct. At the same time, the two petitions have been forwarded to Chief Justice Martha Koome for appointment of an expanded bench to hear and determine the legal dispute surrounding the ouster of top court judges. So this is actually an internal wrangle in the Judicial Service Commission, and we're hoping to see how that goes. It's actually a task for Martha Koome, our Chief Justice, we're hoping to see how she handles this, how the court handles this. Will the judges, will they be removed or will they stay? Still a developing story. So the ruling in the judges' words actually, had the Constitution intended to immunize the judicial service proceedings, the same would have been stated expressly in the Constitution. There is no express ouster clause against the court intervention. So Judicial Service Commission fails under the bodies that can be supervised by the High Court. It falls under the bodies that can be supervised by the High Court. The petitions deserve multi-judge decision. Both are certified as raising substantial issues of law pursuant to Article 165 of the Constitution and are referred to the Chief Justice for empanelment of the bench. So the two files be forwarded to the Chief Justice for assignment of an expanded bench. So we're hoping to see how that goes. How will the internal wrangles in the Judicial Service Commission be handled? Yeah, then still on matters education. Now MPs, they want, MPs want a policy scrapped barring tutors from home schools. So this was actually a policy that was introduced in January 2018. The teacher redeployment policy was introduced by the Teachers Service Commission in 2017 and rolled out in January 2018. So initially we had the Teachers Service Commission also barred teachers and students, particularly students, from visiting teachers' homes. And this was actually to make the learning environment more professional. But now we are seeing here a case where MPs want the policy where teachers are barred from visiting home schools to be scrapped away. So the Daily Nation says, they say the rule is lopsided and has caused imbalances in hiring of teachers. So the members of parliament are now calling for the scrapping of the teacher redeployment policy, saying it has caused massive imbalance in the employment and redeployment of teachers in schools across the country. The Constitutional Implementation and Oversight Committee of the National Assembly says the policy, which had been implemented by the Teachers Service Commission, is skewed and has led to disparities in the employment of teachers from different regions. So we're hoping to see how the Teachers Service Commission handles that. I think a lot falls right now. Nancy Mashari actually has a lot to deal with, a lot to handle. There's a lack of enough teachers. Next year we'll be having CBC students join grade 10, that is senior school, for the first time. And we're hoping they'll have enough resources because under this new curriculum, you're already facing challenges of inadequacy of resources to run the curriculum. Yeah. And yeah, so we're hoping to see how that goes. We don't want for learners to come next year, January, with inadequate teachers in classes because that actually affects the learning outcomes. And now another story still on education. So here you're seeing a story. Nation has highlighted how parents and residents are angry over mistreatment of Butere girls over their performance, over their play Echoes of War. So parents and residents of Kakamega now want accountability for what they term humiliation of Butere girl students in the National Drama and Film Festival in Nakuru. They say they watched with horror as the government unleashed terror on the young learners and tear-gassed them while trying to exhibit art. To them, the government's assault on the play was a sign of dictatorial regime keen to censor and stifle creativity. So yeah, that story will still, I think it's still making headlines. We're hoping to see how that goes. We saw the lawyer of Cleophas Malala, and also Eugene Wamalwa, the DAP party leader, calling for the release of Malala yesterday when he had been arrested. And yeah, that was a bit chaotic. And still on matters, now we're going to matters health, where our new cabinet secretary, Aden Duale, has announced that relief as Kenya receives 10,000 doses for Mpox. High-risk groups, counties with confirmed cases will be given priority according to the cabinet secretary. So Duale announced the arrival of 10,700 doses of the modified vaccines Ankara Bavarian Nordic Mpox vaccine to control the ongoing outbreak. Now, Duale said the vaccines have been received through collaboration efforts by the government with support from CDC, World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Vaccine Alliance. So, Duale said the arrival of the vaccine marks a significant milestone in the national response to interpret the chain of transmission and limit further spread of Mpox in the community. So, we've been seeing a lot of it's good to see more injection of more drugs and vaccines into the country, because we've been seeing reports of inadequacy of medicines, immunizations, even for newly born children. And we're hoping to see more of that coming in, more support, more medicine coming in to ensure that healthcare in the country, also an important sector of the country's economy, being taken care of. And now Ruto, moving on forward to another story. This was the Star's top story. Ruto's 8-day China tour as ties with US crumble. Extension of SGR to Malaba on president's agenda. So we know, we are hoping the SGR can be extended, and that is one of the discussions that the president is hoping to have with the Chinese president. So Ruto is set to embark on an 8-day tour of China, a trip that comes at a time when his diplomatic rapport with the United States appears to be weakening. According to the details obtained by the Star, the president will depart shortly after the Easter holidays to strengthen diplomatic contacts with the world's second biggest economy, that is China. Ruto intends to finalize the construction of the standard gauge railway to Malaba and start the 170-kilometer four-lane Rironi-Mau Summit Road. The two projects are likely to be a political game changer for Ruto, especially in Western Kenya, if delivered by 2027. So we're hoping to see one of Ruto's structures, a road structure, a big one, a national one actually, just like the expressway and that came with President Uhuru Kenyatta, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Yeah, so and the story actually says it's like Kenya is moving away from our relationship with the United States is slightly weakening, and now we are endearing ourselves to the Chinese people. Now, in other news, CBC, still on matters education, CBC success lies with secondary school principals. So secondary school principals hold the key to either the success or the failure of the new competency-based curriculum in Kenya, an education official has said. The Bomet County Director of Education, Leonard Ngugi, said it was the responsibility of secondary school heads to diligently and devotedly babysit the CBC to ensure its success. Ngugi was speaking at a hotel in Kitui Town on Thursday where he officiated the 5-day Kenya Secondary Schools Head Association annual conference. So next year we'll be seeing now the learners. CBC learners will officially be joining secondary schools from next year, January, and a lot actually falls onto the secondary school principals to determine the success of these learners, according to the Bomet County Director of Education. Yeah, so we are watching that keenly. This year when school started, we saw a lot of challenges slightly, particularly when it comes to classes. There was an issue of classes, we remember that, where grade 9 classes not all schools had grade 9 classes ready, yet the government had started receiving a push to ensure that classes for grade 9 learners were ready as early as last year, December. So next year, January, we're hoping to see. We don't have an issue of resource allocation and inadequacy of resources when the learners join for senior school for grade 10 come next year. So we're keeping very close eyes on that. We are hoping education reporters follow up on that to ensure we have resources for our grade 10 learners. Now, in other stories, so the Senate has unanimously passed a bill by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna on high cost of electricity bill. This is a story by the Star newspaper, and it reads, Senators have passed a bill seeking to make energy purchase agreements transparent to curb high cost of electricity in the country. Now, the Energy Amendment Bill 2023, sponsored by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, now heads to the National Assembly. The legislation comes as consumers are grappling with high energy prices. The bill, which seeks to overhaul contracting of energy purchase agreement, got near unanimous backing on Wednesday, with senators saying it is a much-needed intervention. According to the bill, Kenya Power will purchase electricity from private energy generators before establishing the need for additional energy. So that is actually a good story. If the electricity prices go down, and it also comes at a time when we're seeing the government plans to work to renegotiate the G2G deal for Kenya's oil, where we've been getting oil from the Gulf, and by next week we should be getting a new oil prices which are actually reduced. So eyes on that, electricity and both oil prices. This will actually help in lowering the cost of living in the country. So we are hoping to see positive results from that. And also yesterday, so the Odinga family mourned the loss of their bodyguard, of Raila's bodyguard. So Raila's bodyguard actually died. He died earlier a while ago, and Raila described Oduor as a man of impeccable character, innocent, sincere, generous, and trustworthy. Raila says he needed someone he could trust with money, important documents, and sensitive information, and George Oduor never failed. So this was Raila Odinga's, the ODM party leader. This was his moving tribute to his late bodyguard. So we know Oduor, the late bodyguard to Raila, actually was also the bodyguard of the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. So he's like a part of the family, of the Odinga family, having been linked to the family for that long. Yeah, so we wish, we condole with the family at this time, and also with the Odinga family. And in other news, we're seeing here a story by the Star newspaper still. So the speaker orders committees to report on work. So the speaker cites significant erosion of performance in city teams. So Nairobi Speaker Kennedy Ngondi has ordered committee chairs to report on what their teams have been doing. In a communication to the House on April 4th, he called out shortcomings in the quality of their work. I have observed significant, so Ngondi said, I quote, I have observed significant erosion in the performance of assembly committees, particularly the sectoral committees, thus affecting the oversight and legislative mandate. The committees have been plagued by prolonged delays in processing matters and ending absenteeism and allegations of bribery demands. So we're hoping to see how that goes, because this points at a lack of effort in work, and yeah, it's alarming because these are government officials and they should be serving Kenyans as expected. And moving on to a story of artificial intelligence, Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o is urging people adopt intelligence-led customer experience in public service. So Nyong'o has challenged public servants at both national and county levels to adopt intelligence-led customer experience to transform governance and improve access to public service. Nyong'o said traditionally public service have often struggled to keep pace with the rapid advancements in technology and the evolving needs of citizens. At a time when we're seeing artificial intelligence growing, it is being adopted in very many areas of our lives, and we are hoping that Kenyans will not miss out on the use of AI because, yeah, it is advancing and it should be adopted, as Governor Nyong'o says, in other areas of our lives. Now, the Enderasha fire probe report out, says Kanja. Remember the fire that happened last year where students from Enderasha Primary School, we saw learners die, and it was more than 20 learners actually died from that incident, and it was a very sad tragedy to occur for learners in a boarding school. So according to Douglas Kanja, the report of that incident is out. So investigations into the cause of the September 5th, 2024 Enderasha Hillside Academy fire are almost complete. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja has said, speaking at Enderasha Police Station in Kieni on Wednesday when he handed over a vehicle to the station. Kanja said the DCI is winding up investigation and will soon release its findings on the cause of the fire, which claimed the lives of 21 boys. So we are hoping that report comes out soon, because that was a tragedy, and no parent wishes to take their children to school only to be called to pick up a dead body. We're still condoling with the families of the 21 boys who died at Enderasha Hillside Academy, and we hope justice. Now, welcome back. That was an unexpected short break, but now we'll be taking you, as we finalize our newspaper review, we'll be taking you through the sports news this morning. And we'll start with, as I'm seeing here, a rugby story actually. I'm a lover of rugby. And so the Oilers seek to end Cabra's Sugar dominance in Kenya Cup finals. So all set. As the 2025 Kenya Cup final looms, Menengai Oilers head coach Gibson Weru has issued a rallying call to his charges, insisting that history will count for nothing when they take on defending champions Cabra's Sugar tomorrow. Despite never beating Cabra's in a Kenya Cup fixture, Weru is unshaken and says his team is prepared to turn the tide ahead of the Rai Derby. So all is set for the Rai Derby in Kakamega tomorrow. This game will be happening tomorrow in Kakamega County. And Weru believes that they can stop Cabras actually, who are yet to lose in 3 years. So it's an up task for him. We are hoping to see how that goes, and we'll be keeping you updated who will win. Will Oilers actually end the Cabras Sugar dominance in the Kenya Cup final, or will the Cabras Sugar still maintain their cup for the 4th year in a row? So eyes on that keenly. And another story still on sports. It is now down to the last 4 at national finals. So champions Dr. Aggrey locks horns with Lukenya as the Dagoretti Hills renewed rivalry with Laser Hill. St. Charles Lwanga clash with Musungi in a repeat of last year's East Africa final. So a showdown is looming today as teams battle for final slots at the ongoing Brookside Secondary School National Term 1 games at Shanzu Teachers College and Shimolatewa High School. So these are school games, and they're ongoing currently at Shanzu Teachers College and Shimolatewa High School in Mombasa County. Eyes on that. We're hoping to see how that goes, which schools will appear at the top, which schools will take home caps and trophies, and which schools will only be participants. And on matters athletics, so Chebet and Kipruto shine as Rift Valley triumph. So Rift Valley region yesterday exerted the athletics dominance as this year's Brookside Secondary Schools National Games entered day 3 at Shanzu Teachers College and Shimolatewa. So this is still part of the games happening at Shimolatewa and Shanzu Teachers College. So these are the Brookside Secondary School Term 1 games. So eyes on that. We're hoping to see how that goes. We'll be featuring, so the games are actually featuring basketball, hockey, rugby sevens, rugby 15s, handball, athletics, and even swimming. Yeah, and finally on another sports story here, we're seeing Flick warns rivals after thrashing Dortmund. So Barcelona coach Hansi Flick warned their Champions League rivals his team are still looking to improve after beating Borussia Dortmund 4-0 on Wednesday. The Catalans put one foot into the semi-finals with the first leg thrashing of last year's runners-up of the Olympic Stadium. So Barcelona's boss says his team is still improving despite the impressive win. Aston Villa boss Emery remains bullish despite defeat in Paris. Let's see what other newspapers have in terms of sports as well. So in the Star newspaper highlights here a story by Kogalo's. Is it Kogalo's savior? They ask. It's actually a question. Kogalo's savior? A question mark. So Coach Mihik tips Omala to provide the goals as Gor battles to defend KPL title. So Gor Mahia head coach Stanisi Mihik says the return of striker Benson Omala will alleviate his selection dilemmas and bolster the team of offensive prowess. So Omala's return follows his clearance by FIFA, making him eligible to compete in the Kenya Premier League after resolving a contract dispute that occasioned a turbulent spell with Al Safa in Lebanon. So Mihik said the absence of a clear-cut striker has hampered the team's ability to capitalize on the chances created. So we're hoping to see how moving forward the games by Gor Mahia will go. And yeah, eyes on that. So that marks the end of our newspaper review this morning. Please remember to grab yourself a copy of the dailies on your way to work, and yeah, have yourself a good morning. Stay tuned for more updates.